The once great city of New York becomes the one maximum security prison for the entire country. A 50-foot containment wall is erected along the New Jersey shoreline, across the Harlem River, and down along the Brooklyn shoreline. It completely surrounds Manhattan Island. All bridges and waterways are mine. The United States police force, like an army, is encamped around the island. There are no guards inside the prison, only prisoners and the worlds they have made. The rules are simple. Once you go in, you don't come out.
Yeah, that was supposed to happen in 1988, but it's now 2020, right? So are you going to escape from New York? Saks Fifth Avenue now wrapping razor wire around the stores. There it is, the headlines off of the New York Post. Private security guards, specially trained dogs. In the wake of the looting of Macy's iconic Herald Square location, at Saks, you have workers on Tuesday, as the New York Post points out, began attaching chain link fencing to plywood that was previously installed to cover the luxury store's display windows. The second phase of the job saw workers putting coils of razor wire along the top edge of the plywood. And then, of course, they got private security guards who have some very unfriendly dogs, German Shepherds, Pit Bulls, and so forth with them. In addition to all the fencing and the guards, Saks rented 4 massive floodlights at a total cost of more than $16,000 just for the floodlights to illuminate the streets surrounding the stores. See, this is the cost of doing business in a place like New York. And, of course, this is, as they pointed out, an escape from New York. This is a world that has been created by the people who live there. The only thing missing is for us to put a plywood concertina fence around the entire place so they don't get out, and take this world that they created, recreate that in the places that they escape to, where they come to Florida or to Texas or wherever. You've got the New York City looters pulling up. Here's the world that they've created. I guess they stole this Rolls Royce. I don't know. But you've got looters pulling up in a $350,000 Rolls Royce to ransack a store in Manhattan. Yeah, this is looting New York style. There is no middle class. There's only the upper class and everything that is happening in that country. Good news for looters. Mayor de Blasio refuses to call in the National Guard after the mass looting and a cop beating that happened. You had looters and thugs beating police officers, looting the premier store in Manhattan, many of them, including Macy's. But de Blasio refuses to take action to eliminate the rioting and the looting. Yesterday, he told reporters that he would not bring in the National Guard to protect the people or the businesses of New York City. We do not need, nor do we think it's wise for the National Guard to be in New York City, nor any armed forces, except for the armed forces of Antifa. As a matter of fact, when he talks about how much he hates armed forces, that extends to the police, because he is demanding that a New York police officer who pulled his gun on protesters should have his gun taken away and his badge as well. I guess he would like to have a police force that looks like Sheriff Woody from Toy Story. Go ahead, draw. Oh, wait, I don't have it with me. Let's see. He's repeatedly flip-flopped, as the Daily Mail points out, between slamming and defending the response of cops. He called for the NYPD officer to be fired after footage showed him pulling his handgun and pointing it at protesters in Manhattan. This came after he was forced to backtrack over his response to separate footage of officers ramming crowds with an SUV, which he initially defended. His daughter, of course, was arrested as a protester over the weekend, one of the upper-class Marxists that they have so many of. And there is a fight that has developed between Cuomo, governor, and mayor of New York City, de Blasio. The NYPD and the mayor did not do their job. Cuomo is slamming de Blasio and even talking about how maybe I should displace this guy. Displace him. Now, that's an interesting thing. Is that a legal term? Remove, fire, impeach, I don't know, recall. No, displace. Displace. That's interesting. It wasn't clear exactly what that would entail, but as many people pointed out, it would create well, even Cuomo said, yeah, I'd like to displace him, but it would create a chaotic situation in the midst of an already chaotic situation. Just doesn't make sense. So never mind. I was just thinking out loud. Yeah, right. The curfews are designed to help the police, said Cuomo. The New York City police had a curfew last night. Obviously, it wasn't enough to handle the looters. Yes, you've got to ask them more politely, as de Blasio tried doing, right? Well, we got a curfew here, and de Blasio said to them, if you choose to protest today, now remember, this is the guy who was just, a couple of weeks ago threatening people who showed up to a funeral, said, this is your final warning. I don't care about your religion. I don't care about your funerals. You're not going to get any more warnings about this stuff, right? But if you choose to protest today, do it in the daytime hours, and then please go home, because we have work to do this evening to keep a peaceful city. Well, they didn't pay any attention to that. If you want to protest in New York, this is what I would suggest you do during the daytime hours, since His Majesty has graciously relaxed his foot off of your neck or his knee off of your neck if you are a business owner or whatever. If you want to protest, this is what I suggest you protest. Go to a restaurant if you can find one that still is in business. Go to a restaurant, protest the lockdown and the looting of businesses, the destruction of lives is being done by Cuomo and de Blasio. That's the protest to get involved in. Yeah, maybe store owners' lives matter. Should that be part of the coronavirus protests? This feud between Cuomo and de Blasio has been in the forefront over the last couple of weeks because as this response to the COVID-19 pandemic has become very obvious to everybody that it is a failure, when you look at the places where they have applied the most draconian measures, you find that, lo and behold, they have the highest rates of infection. And then when we look at the places like Texas where they've relaxed the restrictions somewhat, you find that the rate of infection has actually gone down. So it's pretty obvious that they did the wrong thing. And this fighting that's going on between Cuomo and de Blasio began over the phony COVID-19 pandemic. And it is really finger-pointing now over the continued failure of the response to these violent riots that they call protests. So you're going to see more of this happening because it's going to be, I'm not responsible, he's responsible. No, you're responsible. That's what happens when politics rules a day. You have these Machiavellian princes who are trying to stab each other in the back and fiddling while Rome burns. It's actually interesting. I heard that Tucker Carlson used that metaphor to talk about what was happening in the White House and elsewhere. I said that about 78 days ago, and I thought I was going to catch a lot of hassle from a lot of people, and I did.
We're living in insanely dangerous times, and I told folks going back 3 months ago, I'm not buying storable food because I'm worried about the COVID-19 virus. I'm worried about the food shortages and the economic collapse. And now it's admitted that a chain reaction has begun that's already caused food shortages and the collapse of farms and ranches across the United States, and it's even worse in the third world. So I hope Trump, with his initiatives, can clean this up and fix it. But with the election fraud and the COVID-19, all the wars, and the third world collapsing and everything else that's going on, now is the time to get storable foods because they'll last for 25 years. They're in easily toteable bags. It's high quality food, and it's good to have that box checked off to be ready. And it funds the InfoWars. So we have storable food available again. InfoWarsStore.com or call toll free 888-253-3139. But whatever you do, get prepared and get ready because the globalists want you dependent on them. They do not want you to be self-sufficient. Get your storable food at InfoWarsStore.com right now while you still can.